integrated water resources management. It's a membership-driven institution. We have membership from universities, research departments, and non-governmental organizations across Southern Africa and parts of Eastern Africa. We have 4 programs that we run as WaterNet. The first program that we run is the education program. Under this program, we have the Regional Masters Program in Integrated Water Resources Management. To date, this program has graduated plus or minus 500 water managers from the region. Secondly, we have the Short Professional Courses Program, where we bring together professionals who are already practicing within the region to undergo short courses in various areas. We have trained over 2,000 professionals since this particular program started some years back. The third program that we have is the research program, where we do action-oriented and policy-oriented research related to integrated water resources management. And lastly, we have the outreach program. Under this, we mainly have the annual symposia, which is held in different countries of the region on an annual basis. To date, we have held 19 symposia. And these symposia, they bring together academics, policymakers, development practitioners from the water sector to discuss and deliberate issues related to water resources management within the region. As I have said, we are a human capacity building organization in integrated water resources management. So our main aim is to build human capacity in water resources management amongst professionals within the region. So our role in this particular course that we are having on international water law and guidelines for implementing the SADC protocol and the OKACOM protocol has been mainly to plan for this particular course. We initiated the process, we organized this particular course, and then we ensure that everything is done according to plan, the hiring of the venues, bringing together all the participants, coming together with the program for this particular training, and also assembling the team of facilitators who are training the participants. Overall, as I have already said, the issue is to ensure that we have professionals who are adequately capacitated to manage our water resources within the region on a sustainable basis. So we hope that these professionals, they get the necessary knowledge, the necessary skills for them to manage the water resources of the Okavango Basin.
OKACOM is a commission constituted by 3 member states to manage the waters of the Okavango River Basin. It is based on the provisions of the SADC protocol on shared water courses, which itself is based on the SADC treaty. So the establishment of the OKACOM was an exercise of the implementation of those instruments, where SADC member states had agreed to cooperate on water. And now in this particular case, it includes the countries of Angola, Botswana, and Namibia for the management and utilization, reasonable utilization of the resources of the Okavango River Basin. One of the provisions of the OKACOM agreement and stemming from the SADC protocol is to allow member states to inform each other on planned measures. As part of implementation of that article of the protocol, OKACOM developed guidelines consultatively amongst the 3 member states. The guidelines are instruments that allow the member states to know how to act and behave around the issues of notification, the issues of not causing harm to each other of the project that they do. Now, this training course is to try and further enhance the understanding, the capacity within the 3 member states of individuals who are involved in practice and in planning in terms of the Okavango River Basin waters, both from the 3 countries. This training is being attended by the participants from the 3 member states, taken from, in the first instance, members of the Okavango River Basin Steering Committee and other stakeholders within the member states, both in the water sector, in the local government, in the agricultural sector, in the environment sector, from the 2 countries that are this time around attending this course. As you know, and as I said, there are 3 member states, but this particular course is conducted in English, and it's covering Botswana and Namibia participants to this training. Well, as I said earlier, the practitioners or those who are involved in the management, monitoring, and management of the resources of the Okavango, from the experts that are involved, are the ones whose capacities is going to be enhanced. And in this respect, this would mean that the cooperation of the 3 member states along the water course is also enhanced. Because, as you may understand, issues of cooperation are important to avoid conflict that would otherwise arise if each country does its own thing in a different way. So this training course is going to give them tools that will allow them to have ways of dealing with issues around notification, avoiding causing harm to one another, and therefore it's a very important exercise to enhance their capacity to understand and interpret the provisions of the 2 instruments, the protocol and the OKACOM agreement in respect of notification. The training, as I said, will equip those who are involved in the management of the resource in the basin with skills to better manage this resource, and the better management of the resource will entail or translate into benefits that would accrue to the communities in the basin, wherein their benefits and their needs would be better considered by those who know that one of the things that we should not do is, as we utilize this resource, we do not cause harm. And another person in the basin will definitely benefit if the basin is managed properly.
The training course that we're running this week is focused on a new set of guidelines that have been developed to assist the member states of the OKACOM to notify each other of planned measures. In other words, to inform each other in advance of new projects or new programs that might have an impact on the other member states. And this provides a process whereby each state can have an early notification of projects planned by other member states, will have an opportunity to study those plans, to respond, to express concern, to make suggestions on how those plans might be improved, or indeed to object to those plans if they think that they will adversely impact the interests of the notified state. So it's essentially a way of improving communication and engagement and cooperation between the 3 basin states of the Okavango. Well, it's very important that the 3 states communicate effectively, that they engage with each other effectively, to be able to cooperate for the optimal, sustainable, responsible use of the resources of the Okavango in order to protect the Okavango, to protect the delta, to ensure that the uses of the basin and of the waters of the basin are sustainable, that the optimal uses can be identified, and that process of engagement, that states can communicate with each other and communicate through a structured process, is absolutely essential for effective cooperation. I certainly hope so, and it appears to me that they certainly are. These are all people with a great deal of experience of issues in this basin. So the real expertise is actually among the trainees. From what I have seen over the last few days, the questions, the comments are very informative, very informed and very informative for me. So yes, I think the participants, I'd rather call them participants than trainees, I think are benefiting from it, as indeed am I, learning a great deal from them. But yes, I think it's going very well.
The Okavango River is very, very important, as you have asked, to this country, because it contributes a lot to the GDP of this country as, through tourism. Tourism is the second, after diamond. Diamond is the first, second is tourism. So it contributes a lot to this country. And also it is a life, it is the life of these people, because that this country is a water-stressed country. This is where we have plenty of water for both wildlife, human beings, vegetations, etc., etc. Well, my vision is to see this resource being sustained, and also to see this resource being used in a very environmentally friendly way, and also to see this resource uplifting the standard of living of the people of Botswana. There are a lot of sectors who are attending this training, like the people from the Department of Water Affairs, the people from Land Use Management, the people from the legal fraternity, the people from the local communities, and etc., etc., etc. This training is very, very important because it prepares us for the next step, which is the negotiations. Prepares us to understand, to understand the international laws and procedures on how to notify, and also how to negotiate, the benefit of these shared resources. The issues of international treaties, there are limitations, and also, the difficulties of interpretation, because to interpret some of this protocol or instruments is very difficult. I can interpret them the way I feel, well, they are, and you can interpret the way you feel, also they are, and also he can interpret the way he feels, they are. Some of the challenges, they are the lack of resources, such as the financial resources. We depend right now a lot from the international cooperating partners. And if you look at it, going forward to sustain, the commission, if you depend from the third party, if the third party pulls, how are you going to survive? This is the biggest, challenge that we have.
The Okavango River is very important to Namibia because most of our basin population lives along the river, and their livelihoods depend on the resources of this river. A river that continues to provide for its people, but maintaining the needs of the river as well as the environmental integrity of the system. A river that would contribute to upliftment of the livelihoods and also economic development, but where the people using the river is capacitated enough to realize that they have to do so. Well, the elements of this training is very important to us as a country because we are sharing this river with 2 other member states, and at the same time we are highly dependent on the resources of this river as we are practicing subsistence agriculture in the form of irrigation schemes. And it's very important for us to have an understanding that we have a duty to take care of this river by being very cautious of how we are practicing our subsistence agriculture without necessarily causing harm to our other member states. We are here as the Okavango Basin Steering Committee members. We have stakeholders from various sectors in Namibia, for example, the regional councils of the Okavango region. We have our Attorney General's office, who is here to make sure that the legalities within these frameworks and protocols that we are doing is compatible with what we have in Namibia. We have the Ministries of Environment and Tourism, Fisheries, all very critical stakeholders for the resources of the Okavango Basin. Well, there are a number of elements that we are learning, but what is very important here is that we are learning about our obligations to notify member states of our proposed developments, and also to have prior consultations with them, and most overarching of all, our duty to prevent any harm to the rest of the member states in the basin. Those are the very important elements of this training to us.
There isn't a big installation. There's just, farmers who all use some fertilizer or some nutrients, or some pesticides. Or there is population centres where people cause litter or, throw things, or there's inadequate management of household waste or sanitation waste, sewage waste. So what do we do with that? Well, that's much more difficult to manage. In an agricultural area, it often means you have to tax the cost of the inputs. You have to put taxes on fertilizer that makes farmers use it very carefully, rather than use it, spread it all over the place. So much harder to regulate. But ultimately, in international law, which is what we're talking about, the OKACOM agreement, the SADC protocol, these are international instruments, and they involve the responsibility of a state. So if that local pollution, let's call it local diffuse pollution, if that local diffuse pollution reaches a level where it's causing a problem for neighbours, because we're talking international water law, if it's causing a problem, so if settlements are growing, population is growing along the upstream stretches of a shared basin, so there are more and more villages, or the villages are getting larger, and there's more small industry and actors, and people are careless with waste oil, garages, car washes, all these small businesses, and all of them produce pollution, detergents, waste oils, all of these things over, and cumulatively, it's a lot, right? And it builds and builds and builds, and it's all heading downstream. Then the responsibility in international law is on that particular state, an upstream state. Say, the responsibility is for them to do something. The something is up to them. The something is up to them. But, to craft something, they have to address the problem. They have to, well actually what they have to do, as Dr. Tumbari explained, they have to take reasonable measures to address the problem. Enough to meet their due diligence requirements. Now what would that be in a situation like this? It would probably be, it could be a mix of things. It could be providing waste facilities so that people do not throw things in the river or in the drain. or in the stream. It could be fines. Anybody caught, dumping waste oil from a small garage, or anybody who is, has a car washing business that doesn't have some kind of system for catching the detergent, will be fined or will be closed down. Or maybe if it's in agriculture, as I mentioned, imposing more taxes and more careful use and maybe training and awareness to do with fertilizers and pesticides. Fines for littering, where that litter fine, that's up to the country. That's up to the state, how they do it. But if a downstream state says, whoa, we are suffering, we are really feeling the effect of this. We have a tourism industry. And now when we take our, high-paying tourists out in a boat to go along the Okavango, we are picking our way through the litter. This is having a major impact. And all of the surveys, all of the feedback that we have from our tourists are, lovely place, lovely holiday, real shame about the litter, real shame about the state of the basin. There's evidence that this is hurting your industry. You know what I mean? And that kind of a complaint brought to the upstream state, what the upstream state would have to be able to establish. That would be significant harm. Cumulatively, that is significant harm. And what the upstream state would have to establish is we're taking reasonable measures. We're doing everything reasonable, having regard to our resources, our capacity, our capabilities. Now that doesn't often happen. It doesn't. I'm not going to pretend it happens. I'm not, we do focus, and one of the reasons, sorry, there was a question coming to, we do focus in international law for kind of obvious reasons. Remember, what is international law for? International law is not, it didn't develop to create a comprehensive set of rules that answer every question. That was never really the point. The point was to prevent disputes between states. It was to stop states having disputes, because it's dangerous when states have disputes. These can get, these can escalate. These can become quite serious problems. So it was designed, nowadays when people talk about the emergence of international environmental and natural resources law, we say that international law is changing in its whole purpose. It's becoming a law of cooperation. If it's becoming that slowly, what was it? Or what is it still? It's a law of coexistence. We only really have enough international law to make sure that states can coexist peacefully. So we tend to focus, in the emergence of international rules, we tend to focus on the flashpoints. We focus on those things that are likely to give rise to disputes, and what are those? Large projects. It's when a large project starts that the people downstream start looking at it and start complaining and start expressing concern. So the focus has been on the big project, if you know what I mean. But actually, the small-scale cumulative pollution might even be a more serious problem. But it hasn't really been the focus of international law. In theory, what Dr. Tambari was talking about yesterday covers it. It is covered. If a state is not taking reasonable measures to address that problem, then it would be in breach of its due diligence obligations. It would have failed to prevent significant transboundary harm, etc. But it has never really been the focus. The focus has been on the big project that will give rise to the possibility of a dispute between states. That's where the focus has been, to be honest. Sorry, Tracy.
But as we can see, so far, every takes about 20. And to build the map of the river, it takes about 6 hours.
the water division, you know, they put their faith in WaterNet, that we implement these courses on their behalf. And in particular, I would also really like to thank Tate Pera, because this started when he was still with SADC Water Division. And I would also want to thank the British and German governments through the delegated authority of GIZ. They are the funders of these courses. And they will be very happy to hear that indeed there is a difference. You want to put your money where you know that there is going to be some change. And also to ensure that you have learned something. You also work with other people. Also impart that knowledge and ensure that the people at the grassroots benefit somehow from what you have learned. I want to thank the OKACOM Secretariat as well. We worked with them in organizing this training, and this has been a success. I want to thank Tate Pera in particular, Mama Tracy, and Oledato for really helping us to organize this training. We hope to continue working together, you know, in other trainings and other programs, be it research, outreach, and education. And I also want to thank the governments of Botswana and Namibia. We really appreciate their role in this, for releasing you. For a week, it's not easy that you are away from your workstations for a week, but because they value these trainings, they let you come to this particular training, and we hope to always get their continued support, you know, in these trainings. I would also want to thank you, the participants, in particular. It's one thing to be allowed by your government to come, but it's you who really participated in this training. I was not really part of the learning process, but from what I was observing, I saw that most of you were really participating, you know. So we really want to thank you for the zeal that you have shown in this training. I would also want to thank our facilitators, Professor Owen McIntyre, you know, coming all the way from Ireland to this particular training. And after next week, we will be with him again in Luanda. We really appreciate your participation. One thing I realized about Owen is that you ask him, you know about this issue of facilitation and so forth. He will tell you that, oh, I have another engagement, you know, during the dates that you are talking about, but let me cancel that other engagement. Maybe which he would have confirmed, but he cancels just to come to our region, you know, to ensure that, you know, we also benefit from his experience and also his expertise. I'm sure this is the 5th training or the 6th training that he has helped us with. So we really appreciate that, Owen. And I also want to thank Dr. Tumbare here for taking part in this particular training. We approached him and he agreed. You know, we didn't have challenges, because we said we really want the consultants who worked on the guidelines to build the facilitators. It was going to be a challenge to get someone who did not work on the guidelines, but they accepted, our request that they participate in this particular training. I would also want to thank our resource persons, Professor Mazumawi there, and Tate Pera. Tate Pera was resource person, stroke participant, stroke organizer. So we really want to thank you for sharing your experiences, and we hope to continue working with you. We also want to thank Dr. Gondwe from the Okavango Research Institute. He was the one who organized this venue for us. He looked around for an appropriate venue, and he recommended this particular venue. So we really want to appreciate his help in all this. We also want to thank our photographers, capturing the memories. We want to appreciate them as well. I don't know if I've left anyone else. And also the hotel. No, I was forgetting about the hotel. They all made us very comfortable. So we really want to thank them for that. And may I also urge you to take part in the different activities that Waternet has. We have the education program, the regional master's program in IWRM, Integrated Water Resources Management. This year is University of Dar es Salaam only, which is running the program for the 2019-2020 intake. And we also have this particular one, the short professional courses. We want to expand these courses to give even online courses, and also have them as practical courses, not just the classroom setup, and also to have new, courses. We have been discussing with Owen to actually have in international water law, master's international water law, but that's still in the infancy stages. We also have the symposium. This year our symposium, the 20th, is going to be in Johannesburg, South Africa. So we hope to see you there. The call for abstracts will be coming out very soon, maybe in about 2 to 3 weeks. And then we also have various research projects taking place. We hope you will take part in these projects. And those who want to publish articles, call for articles for our Journal of Physics and Chemistry of the Earth is out. I can send you a link, and you can contribute your manuscript, which can then be published. So I would really want to thank you. In Zimbabwe, we used to have an advert about our castle beer. I'm sure Professor Mazubawe and Dr. Timbari know that advert. It says, it's you who make castle great. So in this case, it's you who make Waternet and our region great. Thank you very much.
I would only ask you to indulge me and say, I borrow and align myself with those thanks, but specifically would like to thank our facilitators, both from my office and the facilitators coming from outside, but most importantly, you participants to this training who gave it your all, and the interaction that we had through the exercises, through the actual question and answer session, and through the attentive listening that one observed, is something that says it was time well spent, worth our efforts both in time and money. And I think and I hope with these skills we have learned from this training, we are able to make change wherever we will be in our respective countries, in our respective river basin niches where we work and make sure that this becomes a success. I think it is not the intention to say too much, except that one wishes that this would not be the first and last, but maybe a start, and hopefully in the future we'll make efforts to ensure that we continue to engage, we continue to enhance our skills, because the issues of transboundary water management and cooperation, as you can see, are very complex, require a lot of, and they are very dynamic also, with changes that are happening in the world. So we need a lot of support in training and making sure that we subsequently become the best in what we do. The ultimate objectives obviously being that we want to have regions, countries that are peaceful, well developed, and are not having conflict between and among themselves. So it is very important that trainings like this, when well received, well implemented and uptake is taken, then we'll reach all those objectives. I think we are left obviously now with seeing our efforts reflected in the kind of work that we do in the future and showing that we have actually learned something. And I've heard this from all of you, that there is at least something that you take home and you can say this was a time worthwhile and well spent. And I want to thank you, everybody, for your efforts, even those that we may have failed to mention by name or rank. I think the idea is we want to thank you, everybody, for your participation. And I thank you very much for your coming here and being with us. And as I said, I hope we'll see you in the future and maybe take this process forward. Thank you very much.
Can I call Gennaro Centeno Avelino? Next, can I call Molefe Tracy Sitabile?
That's easy.
Can I call next Bonyongo Mapafi?
This is not you.
Yeah. First class, first division. Yes.
And next, can I call Ramodimo Olerato? And next is Mutelo Lukendoyi Albert.
Just went out.
In absention.
We can come back to that. Segomelo Portia Kelefilwe. Next, Sakaringwa Sanizo.
Sanex. What's name?
And next, Ingalo Fenyo Paco Hope. And next, Kitile Keo Dumetse.
Yes.
And next, Kude Ogopotse Batlokwa. And next up, Tabeng George Sebaling. Next, Senwede Tuto Gapoyone. And next up, Bolokwe Maina. Next up, Letsolapebe Bayamede. And next, Mazire Patience. Ogobero Kutlo. Kea Betsway Elizabeth B. Motobe Neil. Tautsage Mohadi. Sitayelo Iris. Ortman Cynthia Ludicki. Ipingwe Josephine Nambo.
No, I'm Ipinge, and they always name. We check it. Certificate, please.
Nepembe Jacqueline. Nonikazu Christopher Kanyenvu. Amwama Aune. Mureme John Makutu.
Matuku.
Sorry.
Yes.
Habutenya Gosper Mabangu. Katewa Erwin Namwira Mapasi. Mangundu Marcelius Mudumbi. Ramwedi Pera. And finally, Mutelo Mukindoyi Albert.
And I've been asked to do the closing, the official closing of this training. And I think, first of all, let me thank all of you for the job well done. And we should give ourselves a round of applause. I really thank the organizers, especially the Secretariat Office team, to have organized this training. And also thank the Waternet for facilitating this training. And also thank the resource persons, Professor Owen, McIntyre, Dr. Mutare, and Professor Dominic and others. And also thank Cynthia, Namibian OBSC chair, and her team. I would like to thank them very, very much because they are our visitors, and I think they have enjoyed staying here in Maun, especially in this hotel, even though this hotel is a little bit far from the city center. But I think they've enjoyed the place. And also thank the participants, especially, I'll go on the gender side, Elizabeth, Iris, Patience, and Memamoto, and the others. And the others, and the others, and the others. And all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and also the camera men and women, let me thank you. I think we have enjoyed this training. We have worked very hard. This is why we have received the certificates to confirm that indeed we have spent these five productive days here in Maun Hotel, listening to our professors who are empowering us on international law. And I think you have taken the message appropriately, especially the content of a notification, as they have covered some areas like pre-notification, notification, from notification, then you go to the stage of consultation. From consultation, you go to the stage of negotiation, if there's any negotiations that need to be undertaken. And I think you have grasped the material. Now the question is, going forward, are we going to implement this? How are we going to implement it? Because, you know, it's very easy to learn the material, to learn the theory, but the implementation is another agenda. And it's the most difficult one. It's the most difficult one. But I think with your hard work, commitment, we'll reach there. We'll make it. Like the Americans, they normally say, dead on. Dead on. We will make it. Yes, we will make it. And I think this is not the end of this training. I think the organizers, they will make another training. And as Poshi has recommended, I think the same group should go for another stage. And during the next training, it will be most appropriate and good if we can integrate with the Angolans, so that we start moving as a team, so that we know the comments, and also Namibians, we know the comments, they know our comments, and we come to the point of commonality. We converge to one point at the end. Because all along we have been doing the planning, conceptualizing the project. Now people on the ground, they want to see tangible results. And tangible results means consultation, negotiations, and the projects at the end. And in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, let me wish you a good journey back home, and wish you a wonderful day. For those of you who are going today, have a wonderful day. For those of you who are remaining behind, who will be going tomorrow, have enjoy, you know, Maun, go to the nightclub and mingle. mingle. But make sure that you don't miss your flight. Make sure that you don't miss your flight until we meet sometimes this year. Thank you very much.